All right. Welcome back to Edu Steps, powered by Laddering Your Success, where we help you navigate life, learning, and leveling up. I'm your host, Olay Shorunke, and today we're diving into a major issue facing students, parents, and schools across the nation: bullying in the digital age, how to protect yourself and others. We're applying our signature Be No Do framework to understand it, confront it, and grow through it. We got the whole squad with us here today. We got Festus. Festus, how you doing today?
Doing really well. Glad to be here.
Awesome. And we've got the doctor, Dr. J. Jamarc Crawford. How you doing today, sir?
What's good? I'm doing all right today.
Awesome. So let's go right into it. Let's talk about understanding bullying today, right? In regards to like the B in our Be No Do framework. Obviously, we know since we're right under 40, bullying for us was a little bit different, right? It was the bigger kid taking our head, or the little kid, or I used to get, actually I was a bigger kid, but I got bullied by smaller kids because I was afraid of getting in a fight, because what happened to me at home was worse than whatever happened at school. But either way, it's usually physical, which can lead to like emotional bullying, but a lot of it was on the playground and kind of people taking your place on the swing or taking your food at lunch, or manipulating you to do other things. It's a little bit different now with now that we're in the digital age, and most teens have cell phones and things like that they use before, during, and after school. So it's not just about mean comments online. We're talking about emotional harm that a lot of our students deal with, harassment, humiliation, and this happens through the phones, this happens through games, this happens through social media. We were looking at some stats, and the Cyberbullying Research Center said that 37% of students have been cyberbullied. So that's a little bit more than 1 in 3. So we do have to be aware, we do have to be empathetic, and we do definitely need to be advocates for ourselves and others. So my first question to everyone here is, what does it mean to be the kind of person who doesn't just avoid bullying, but helps to stop it? What does it mean to be the kind of person who doesn't just avoid bullying, but helps to stop it?
I think that means, excuse me, the cliche phrase, when you see something, say something. I feel like it is as simple as that, because if we outnumber the people who are doing the bullying, then that's speaking up for someone, taking up for someone, and the people who have the good spirit will outnumber or outweigh the people who have these negative intentions, whether it's in-person bullying or cyberbullying or whatever. But I feel like it's speaking out and saying something. If we come across this as our peers, if we're in school and we say something to the teacher, we say something to administration, and we're talking about it, then action can be taken against those persons that are committing the offense or the bullying. So you see something, let's say something. Let's not sit around and be bystanders of people being mistreated. And that's what I go by. And sometimes that gets me looked at a certain type of way. But we see something, let's say something. Let's not just stand by and watch injustice take place, even if it's on a small scale of bullying.
Yeah, that bystander one is a good one, and we're going to come back to that. But I just wanted to welcome in D Hill. Daniel, how you doing today, sir?
Good, man. Y'all, how y'all doing today?
Doing well, man. Talking a little bit about bullying and how our young people can use that Be No Do to help deal with bullying in the digital age.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Dr. J, I was thinking, and I was like, that thing you mentioned about bystander, about people just kind of standing by, idly by, and watching things happen. that's something, I think that's a really big issue. The reason why I say that is, I don't know if y'all noticed this, but sometimes when I watch like an Instagram video or a TikTok video of either a fight, a disagreement, or something that's happening in public, or a an injustice primarily that's happening to someone, where everyone can see that what is happening to a particular person is wrong, but no one is truly standing up for that person. Everyone is like this with their phones. They're just like, looking at it or recording it with their phones for their own documentation. And I go back to when my parents used to ask me, or not ask me, they used to tell me, if there was a theme of my upbringing, it was common sense. My parents used to always tell me, you need to have common sense. You need to know the logical thing to do in any given situation. And I think that, I think there's this mix of like people wanting to help and speak up, but feeling like there's backlash that comes at them for doing that. Is that a courage thing? Is that a courage thing? Is it saying that conflict is inevitable? Conflict is going to happen no matter where you go, no matter what you do. Conflict is inevitable. So courage is standing in the face of an insurmountable obstacle, or standing in the face of, some sort of obstacle, and still going towards it, still going forward with it. And so what do we tell our young people? Because I feel like that's something that, that's like this, I call these things like social contracts, right? These are the things that they see. And so they implicitly say like, okay, that's what it is because that's what everyone else is doing, right? It's that thing where like, every time a mouse tries to come up, the other mice bring it down, right? So what are some things that we can tell our young people to battle that or to deal with things like that, if that makes sense?
I think that we should share with the youth that sticking together is always better than being idle and just standing by and being a witness to these unfortunate situations, because it's so easy or we think it is easy for us to just sit there and watch these things happen. I know we're talking about cyber, so when people are making certain comments about others on social media, well, they're doing it so that other people can see it, right? So if we're all seeing this and we're not saying anything about it, we're not reporting it, we're not flagging it, we're not doing anything, we're just constantly scrolling, or some of us are giving it a like, right? So we are influencing or reinforcing that type of behavior. But if we all see this messed up comment being made about a peer that we know, hey, let's flag it, or whatever the rules are for reporting bullying for social media and how that works, let's report it, let's flag it, let's take care of that, versus engage with the negativity, because that's what social media is all about. The algorithm, engagement. Let me get more engagement, and we get more engagement, the more it's going to pop up and show. So how about we flag it and report it versus engage with it, right? Because I don't think the answer to bullying responses is even more bullying. I think it's, yo, let's report it and let's move on.
I definitely agree with that. I think that's definitely powerful. We're going to get into something about that a little bit later on.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Olay. If there's one thing I love, it's something free. I'm talking free 99, un gratis. No shipping or handling fees, no gotcha fees, nothing like that. With that being said, if you're graduating soon or thinking about college or need a nudge or help to decide, then our free ebook, 10 Things to Think About Before Going to College, has a very balanced and open-minded way of presenting your next steps. It captures broad topics in a personal way by giving students an insightful, interactive, and reflective source of inspiration. It is very beneficial to be able to visualize some of the concepts after high school and apply them directly to you. We all know life, college, and career planning decision-making choices for students can be challenging, especially as they near the completion of high school. This book will provide you with a self-paced guide to your success beyond academics and into real life. Not only is it free, you can complete this book within a week. This will definitely prepare you for long-term success. To get your free copy, simply go to lys.com/students. I mentioned it was free, right? Well, if I didn't, it's free. Like, for real, for real. Okay, back to the podcast.
I think a lot of young people, the right thing seems a lot more boring than the good thing, or even the bad thing. So I think a lot of young people are like, I think unfortunately they equivocate and please, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this and you're like, I disagree, I don't think young people see things that way, please put a comment wherever, on whatever platform you're listening to this. And this has been done historically. This has always been in the past. This is how it's been. But I think it's happening even more now these days, where the thing that is the right thing to do is seen as a very corny thing, right? Or a very just a square thing, right? If, for those of you all who are fans of music, Lewis and the News have a song called "It's Hip to Be Square," meaning it's cool to do the right thing, right? The thing that you should do. But I think these days, a lot of young people, they pay more attention to the people who are technically supposed to be like those voices of respect. And they're like, man, I'm tired of doing the square thing. That gap there is bigger. So it's definitely something that like you can heed, you can't, or you don't heed, but the common sense thing, the best approach is still going to be the same thing, right? So let's go into the know portion, knowing the tools and knowing the trends, right? So we've talked about what do students need to understand about digital safety, cyberbullying trends, and how to recognize red flags. So I want to go over some facts real quick. According to the CDC, youth who are bullied electronically are at a greater risk for depression, anxiety, and even the thoughts of wanting to end themselves. The Pew Research Center reports that 59% of U.S. teens have experienced some form of cyberbullying. Many states, including Texas, include digital bullying in school discipline policies. So let's talk about knowing the signs. Is someone repeatedly receiving harassing messages? Are they being excluded from group chats or having rumors spread about them online? Oh man, I've heard a lot of stories like that where like it could either be a rumor or something true, unfortunately, that happened to someone that just blew into something just huge, right? But my question for the squad is, what are some ways we can educate students and parents without overwhelming them? What are some ways we can educate students and parents without overwhelming them?
Educate them about what specifically?
I would say educate them about digital safety, cyberbullying trends, and how to recognize red flags.
I think that I feel like there should be how do I put this? Like a task force that is equipped with all the knowledge and tools within that realm on each school campus, and they are to do it without overwhelming the students, like over time kind of give this information and teach them. I feel like that's the only way to do it, and especially with updates always happening. So have some type of task force that can educate all stakeholders, teachers as well, whether that's during school days for the students and staff, or afternoon times, or implemented during those meet the teacher nights or open house, where we have a segment where we can implement updated information on what to look out for and who to notify, the numbers to call, the people to reach out to, and just constantly getting this information out there. So those are my ideas.
Well, I came in late, so I know you're talking about bullying, but I think one of the first things, I might be off topic a little bit. First thing we have to let the kids know what real bullying is. So, because these days everything's bullying. If somebody don't like what you like, it's bullying. If somebody said, "Well, I don't want to hang around with you no more," it's bullying. Like, I just don't want to be around. And I heard y'all say something about exclude people from a group chat. Well, like, maybe not. Maybe they just don't want you in the group chat. Like, it's just like everything's not bullying. Some people got different group chats on this. But if it's true bullying, like you said, like people talking negative, talking down about 'em, first thing I would go back to the old way of teaching, letting kids know that, look, there's gonna be some people who talk about you. Because if you focus on trying to make the person like you, it's going to destroy you. Because you're gonna keep on doing everything, trying to make them like you. You must say, like, everybody's not gonna like you. Some people just crazy and want attention, and then focus on the person healing themselves. Because people also focus on letting people like them when they just need to focus on knowing that they already loved by the people around them. So, but get involved in schools. But I like what Crawford said earlier, like people will say, "Hey, don't post this." But these days, that's great. But then somebody will keep on coming back, and sometimes it's just an argument back and forth. And but I don't know, like I feel like we need to focus on more of like letting kids know like everything's not bullying, and you need to also make sure, like, you need to encourage them and let your children know, and then also like let them know like everybody in the world is not gonna like them. Some people have bad opinions regardless, bro.
Yeah, I love that point.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Olay once again. These days, many families are busy but want personalized attention. We at Laddering Your Success understand this dilemma and have created a unique approach to help guide you and your child with personal development tools to build a life of purpose. This intimate approach is helpful for those parents that feel the need to have a focused heart-to-heart conversation deciding on the next steps after high school. We provide individual post-secondary planning, virtual customized college and career counseling, and scholarship guidance and planning. Our one-on-one sessions are tailored to each individual student to maximize their potential in the post-secondary realm. With our guidance, your child will be able to make their dreams a reality. Don't wait. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to business on this podcast.
I remember when I was teaching, we had this thing. Before I tell that story, it was a great point also about making sure students understand what bullying is, because a lot of kids would come up to me and say, Mr. Shorunke, he's bullying me or she's bullying you. And I'd ask them, like, what were they doing? And they'd say, oh, they were chasing me around with this stick. And I'd be like, that's not bullying. Do they do that every day? They were like, no. I was like, just today? I was like, no. Yeah, no. Did you tell them to stop? They were like, yeah. They kept going. I was like, yeah. So they're just bothering you. Yeah. Just leave them alone. Just don't chase them with a stick. Right? We're talking about like a repeated process of where like you're using words or you're physically harming someone continuously. And that's in regards to bullying. And so I think that's a great point. I remember also that there was this little PowerPoint that we had to do where we would put up different scenarios and have the students vote and decide if it was bullying or not. And it was so cool. So many of the things that the students that were bullying, it wasn't necessarily bullying. And so to your point, I think in regards to educating, I think things like that are key. I think the question there that really made it, I won't say difficult, but a little a little tough to decipher through was overwhelming, because there's such a wide gamut, and it seems like there's so many different frame of thoughts when it comes to like parenting, that you kind of have like the old-fashioned parents that are like more authoritarian in the way that they treat their kids or their approach to their children, and you have parents who are a lot more free spirited in regards to like how they let their kids move around. And so when I think about educating without overwhelming, I think there has to be a clear understanding of what bullying is, but there also has to be like a clear understanding of what to do when you see that bullying. And I think I would love to get Jamarc's thoughts on this, because I think one of the things that we're kind of missing is and by we I mean those in education, is we sometimes try to have a very soft approach, which I do understand, having a very soft approach when you're bringing something new like this. But I do think that there is some loss of, I won't say loss of truth, but the message doesn't come across as clear because it's not told in a very blunt way. And this is definitely part of like just who I am as a person. I think to a certain extent, if things are serious enough, you do have to be a little blunt and forward in describing the situation, especially if it's a dire situation. And I know the system is very bogged down, right? The educational system is very bogged down, but I do think that like we need to have very straightforward, this is it. When you see the bullying, parents, this is what you need to do. Make sure your kids don't spend too much time. If you can, set up a what do you call it? A period of time where your child can be on phones or laptops or game systems, only on these times. Anything after that, you can't do it. But those are my thoughts in regards to how to educate there. Any other comments? Anyone have anything they want to drop in on that?
I just think that, just presenting the information that leads to bullying and things to look out for. And again, the actions that they can take. This is how you report it. This is how you flag it. These are the steps that you take once it comes to your attention. And so when we provide people with a plan, or more specifically, an actionable plan, then they can begin to take those steps to do what's necessary, especially piggybacking off of what Hill said. Once we define what bullying actually is, so that these things that are being reported are meaningful and deserve the investigation that should take place therefore after. So
Yeah. And Crawford, I wanted to ask also, what do you think like some of the impacts of bullying are on learning for students? Like someone who's like truly being impacted by like cyberbullying, how does that affect them when they're in the classroom? Like their ability to feel safe, their ability to focus, participate, or even want to come to school. Like,
yeah, so what you're referencing would be Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So and that's basically if a student needs aren't being met, they are not able to focus and pay attention in school, because there's a certain level of needs that has to be met, whether it's safety, food, and shelter, and other things like that. So if a student is dealing with excuse me, if a student is experiencing being bullied, then mentally they're not really there in the classroom. Like, they're checked out because they have all these needs that need to be met, and so their their progress in class is definitely going to decline.
hmm. Definitely. And I guess the last question for everyone. This is all well and dandy, but we know we were once teenagers. I'm sure we could all think of a time when, there was a kid in high school who was like, Mr. Miss, he's doing this, she's doing that. And everyone turned to that kid like, man, you little snitch, right? So, of course, we know that myth that like snitching is weak. How do our young people come to terms with that? How do our young people come to terms when they do have to call out somebody who's been cyberbullying, or call out somebody who's been disrespectful, or just saying mean, rude things? How would they deal with that? Because that's coming, right?
Well, yeah, I think that would definitely be on the educational institution to have a system in place where these reports can be made anonymously, right? And so, and then when there's a situation to what I mean by anonymous, that because they do have to do an investigation, but with that being said, looking at the person of whoever's doing the report, and when they do an investigation, they have a private conversation with that individual. Only the people who are doing the investigation have access to that information. Like nobody else will have access to that information. So I feel like the educational institutions coming up with a system that allows the people who are reporting said experiences to be protected, their identities be protected. So
Yeah, I'm saying the same thing pretty much Crawford said. Something need to be set up. Like you said, set themselves, make sure that they don't have to actually go in front of everybody and tell them, because sometimes, like you said, if everybody knows you say it, then you causing more problems than people coming after them, instead of just everything going okay and getting fixed. So yeah, I like how Crawford said.
Yeah. Definitely agree. I think also for young people, this is that time where you're finding your tribe anyway. So, on the same vein, in the same vein of like common sense, if someone's being disrespectful to you or rude to you continuously, just get out of that group. Just get out of that group. There's plenty of people out there to find your tribe and to find those who appreciate you for you. And so you should never have to change yourself, or you should never have to change yourself to fit into a group of people, especially if their values, especially if their values are not in line with you. All right.
Yeah, and if I could throw on a little something.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just wanted to also say, know the difference between a classmate and a friend. When you go to school with somebody and you go to class with someone, they're just a classmate. You know what I mean? And not everybody's truly your friend. A friend truly cares about you. A friend truly understands where you're trying to go. They're going to be honest with you, tell you the truth. And so when you know the difference between a classmate and a friend, I think you're better able to understand who is joking with you when they're kind of poking fun and who's actually bullying you. Because I think sometimes there's a line that gets crossed where it's like, oh, okay, this person's taking a jab or a stab, and sometimes we take that too serious. And then there's other times where it's like, nah, this person's purposely trying to emotionally damage somebody, spiritually damage somebody, and so on and so forth.
Man, definitely. I believe, I can't remember which key principle that is, but it's be a friend to make friends, right? So definitely very good advice there. So I want to end with some powerful questions for our Edu Steppers. Edu Steppers, lemon pepper steppers. All right. Have you ever witnessed online bullying? How did you respond? Right. Next question. What's one boundary you can set for yourself on social media? Who is someone you can check on this week? And what does your digital footprint say about who you be in the be, no, do framework? Also, there's something that I wanted to tell the young people. I remember when I was a teacher, man, especially for y'all young folks, I need y'all to understand that there was this boogeyman kind of thing that I used to hear about on cartoons and on TV shows growing up. And there was this thing called your permanent record. And I'm sure y'all remember, squad here remembers, you would watch shows and they would say, this is going on your permanent record, if you did something bad. And so we thought that meant that was going to follow you all your life if you did something bad. And I graduated from high school in 2004. And when I was teaching, my assistant principal, they have this system where they hold basically all student files, right? And so this was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And so she pulled up my name, and they had all of the referrals that I had been given from the school. They were all digitally in there. And they even had the infraction. One of my referrals was for inciting a fight. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, I remember exactly what it was. I was like, oh my gosh, they still have that? So if they had that in 2004, for those of you who are graduating in 2025, 2024, 2023, all the way to 2020, but before that, just think about what they have on you. Not only do they have what your referrals and things like that, you have a digital footprint. So every message you send, everything you like, there's a footprint on that. You may not think that's a big deal now, but when you go to college, when it's time to get a job, when you're trying to travel, if you pay attention to the news, a lot of those things are could potentially be looked into. So just something to keep in mind, right? All right, folks, if this episode struck a chord with you, don't just move on. Join our Edu Steps WhatsApp group to talk more or explore digital safety workshops for your school at info@ladderingyoursuccess.com. And for educators, hey, let's partner up. We offer student-centered, trauma-informed programs that bring our own Be No Do model to life. Be sure to subscribe, review, and most importantly, share. Someone in your circle needs this episode. Let's build a culture of courage, one voice at a time. Folks, this has been Edu Steps with Olay Shorunke and the Laddering Your Success crew. Until next time, walk in purpose, level up daily, and protect your peace. For Dr. Jamarc Crawford, for the one and only, that guy, Daniel Hill, my name is Olay Shorunke. Thank you so much for joining us. Festus, please close us out with a phrase that pays to know.
So listen, there are legitimate excuses for not going to college. There is no legitimate excuse for not getting an education. If you like this episode, go ahead and hit the like button. If you know somebody who needs to hear this, hit the share button. And if you want to help us out, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And we will see you on the next episode.